drinking water which meets minimum standards. This phase is planned to start in October 2024 and to end in June 2025. The third phase will involve adding a further 80 megalitres per day of capacity to the plant. The current capacity of the plant is 250 megalitres per day. After phase 2 and phase 3, it will improve to a capacity of 380 megalitres per day. This will be sufficient to treat the current and future projected wastewater load in Hammanskraal. The third phase is planned to start in July 2024, and to end in June 2026. So in all, we're talking about a construction period of 3 years, roughly, with work starting in September 2023, and the third phase being completed in June 2026. So in summary and conclusion, the installation of the packaged plant by Mchali's Water will result in the residents of Hammanskraal having piped drinking water by March 2024. In the meantime, residents will continue to be supplied with drinking water from tankers with strict monitoring and controls. Short-term measures will also be taken to reduce the pollution of the Arpies River by the Rooiwal wastewater treatment works. The repair and upgrading of the Rooiwal wastewater treatment works will result in the Temba water treatment works being able to provide drinking water which meets the required standards by June 2026, which can then replace the water from the packaged plant. Thank you, Minister.
Thank you, DG. The municipal manager would like to add, or should we proceed? Thank you. Okay, we're going to proceed. Thank you, colleagues. Now it's time for opportunity to pose any questions that you may have to the panel in front. I'm going to invite 5 questions on the floor. We also have those that are following us virtually. So the first 5 will be taken from the floor, and after that, the leadership will respond. Then after that, we're going to take the questions that will be coming from the virtual platform that will be read by my colleague. When you want to ask a question, please introduce yourself and the organization you are coming from, and also indicate whom the question is directed to. We can start. Thank you. Are we not having any questions on the floor? Okay, on the far left. Okay, please provide him with a microphone.
Thank you, Aviwem Dila. Just clarity, I know the mayor mentioned the 450 million rand that will be coming from the city of Tshwane, and the DG mentioned 4 billion that's needed. I just want to know where the rest of the money might come from. Maybe that was covered. I just need more clarity on it. And I understand there were tender irregularities that were mentioned to the state of the actual Rooiwal water treatment plant in getting there. Maybe more clarity as well on that. What tenders and what was it, corruption? Just more transparency on that. And maybe lastly, I know the blue drop certificate is to be released on Tuesday. I understand it's supposed to be released yearly. Maybe we're going to have feedback on the previous certificates and the quality, of the situation and what has been done, given that it was supposed to be released every year. Thank you.
Okay, next. Can we try fix that before they can speak? Thank you.
Hi, good morning. It's Ahmed Kaji from Newsroom Africa. 3 questions to the panel, please. There was a confirmed death in Mpumalanga regarding cholera. Could we maybe get a total death toll nationally, if possible, from the minister? Secondly, we see that the deadline, or the finalized projection for the completion of the project is June 2026. This will obviously be going through the national elections. Should there be a change in administration within the city of Tshwane, within the province of Gauteng, or even potentially nationally within the government, will this project be affected if there is a change in administration? And then finally, there was a master plan from the Department of Water and Sanitation from 2018 This said that the government wouldn't be able to supply water to, I think it was 13% of South African citizens. Given that we had this insight back from 2018, wouldn't government have seen a situation like the one we are seeing in Hammanskraal, where there is water shortages and obviously now, unfortunately, water being contaminated as well? There was failing infrastructure, mismanagement of funds. This obviously took place 5 years ago when there was insight already on this. Should this have not been taken care of back then so that we wouldn't have been in the situation that we are in currently? Thank you very much.
Okay,
Hi, Tabiso Goba from Eyewitness News. I just want to also get clarity. I understand that DBSA will be the implementing agent, or has been hired as an implementing agent. Is the municipality, does that mean they're going to take over all SEM processes, or will some of that be down to the municipality? I just want to get clarity on that. Thank you.
The last one, are you still gonna ask or should we? Okay, thank you. I'm going to provide the minister and to lead in terms of response.
Thank you very much. Obviously, there are questions that will be better responded to by the mayor and by the team. Let me take the blue drop issue and leave the deficit between 450 and 4 billion rand and the issue of corruption. The issue of the blue drop will be, the statement will be made on Tuesday next week. If I heard you well, you were saying, yes, there will be provision of the record when last we made an assessment via that mechanism and what it showed. All I can say now is that you remember that from August last 2021, we started processes of resuscitating assessments of all the drops, the blue drop, the green drop, the no drop, but we did the green drop first. The results were issued around March last year. And at the same time, we made an announcement that blue drop will follow. What we'll be releasing on Tuesday would be interim results of the blue drop. And then somewhere in July, we'll release final reports on all the assessments. Let me leave that and go to Mpumalanga. I thought they were talking about a cholera incident rather than a death. There's death already. It's an indication that there might be a problem that requires us to get closer even there, just like we've done in Paray in the Free State. And of course, we would continue with our condolences to such a family facing such a tragedy of losing a life. But we will follow up on that. Of course, it's an issue that we're already looking at in terms of potential escalation, but we're taking things as they come in the short term. There will be time when and very soon when we take a deep dive on the situation possibly before end of the week. Next week, we are going to be taking a deep dive as a department with some support from selected individuals where we look deeper into the issue of the quality of water in the country, you will know that maybe to answer you at the same time, in terms of master plan and what are you foreseeing, you would recall that when Gauteng experienced the water provision or water supply problems, we convened a meeting, a series of meetings actually, with the board that is Rand Water, but also subsequently with the metros and other municipalities in Gauteng. It was a long period of just assessing what the problem was on all aspects of water, culminating in a meeting on the 13th of March, where we came together to do an in-depth assessment, mostly on the supply side. But we did make an announcement during that time that the challenge is not just on the supply side. There is also an issue of quality of water. There's also the issue of sustainability of the whole sector and sustainability of water services. Because our observation was that there's a lot of turbulence on the side of water services management. Hence, issues of water-related grievances are cropping up everywhere. And when we go and check, we find that indeed these grievances are valid. There is a problem of water provision in that municipality. And as of now, we've taken over provision of water in a number of municipalities in the country, exactly because of that observation. We are supporting lots of municipalities, quite a great number throughout the country, in a manner that has never been seen before, simply because of the same problem of a decline of capacity of municipalities to render basic services, including water, throughout the country. And then the quality of water and the management of water and sanitation services in the whole country. And therefore, I'm saying we are foreseeing a situation where the challenges require much more vigor in terms of dealing with them, much more seriousness, and even assistance by experts in different aspects of water, because this is a serious matter, considering that water is life and that it is a right. And the fact that as a water scarce country, we don't have abundance of water. And in fact, water resources are like shrinking if you look at a number of rivers that you yourself know when you grow up, which have dried up or are drying up. And therefore it requires quite a serious attention from our side. Hence, we had a symposium 2 weeks ago. That was just the beginning of a scientific assessments of issues relating to water in the country. And we're going to go for another one, smaller but deeper in terms of thought on water. So we are foreseeing challenges, getting deeper, and therefore requiring deeper response and analysis. Eyewitness, I'm sure the mayor will be better positioned to answer that question. Honorable Mayor.
Thank you. Oh goodness, we have to go through the whole dance again. Right. So let me just say as a preface to these answers, fully associate City of Tshwane with the presentation given by the Director General, I would just add that I believe that there are operational improvements that can also be made at Rooiwal, including reviewing the management of that plant. Now, as a politician, I will be very careful in saying these things, but you know, we also have to exercise quite rigorous oversight and to see if that place is being mismanaged and be candid about it and see what can be done to improve things. The most concrete deliverable is the phase 1, because we do have the money for that in the bank, so to speak. But funding the rest of the project is going to require this cooperation. That's why we're starting a technical committee with National Treasury who are going to advise us on how to source additional funding. So no, the money isn't in the bank for the full upgrade. But the fact that we have got Treasury, we've got Water and Sanitation, we've got the DBSA on board with this partnership, hopefully gives us credibility and conveys to the outside world, including funders, that we have our house in order as a partnership. So whatever might have happened in the past, and I'm going to allude to the specifics of the tender irregularities, we're going to do things differently. So no, this isn't a turnkey solution to the whole problem. It's a very important start to get that additional funding. And I think it's the best chance that we have to source the funding to do the work. The tender irregularities I refer to is the fact, and this is in the public domain, that phase 1 of this project that got up to 60%, I believe, ceased because the contractor walked off site or there was malperformance. But in addition to that, a forensic investigation revealed that there were tender irregularities, breaches of rules that happened in the awarding of the tender. Now, very publicly, the name of state capture implicated Edwin Sodi is associated with that contract. But the point is that the forensic investigation revealed that on the side of the city of Tshwane, there were irregularities. Steps are being taken against the implicated officials. And there will be consequences to that. But the point of bringing it up is if we aren't honest about the supply chain management issues in the city, we would not be able to take the steps to avoid these things from occurring. And I want to answer the question about the hiring of the DBSA. I don't think the DBSA has been hired, technically speaking, but there's been broad agreement, including with National Treasury, who's a supervisory body as to the implementation of MFMA and the regulations, that the DBSA is the most suitable implementing agent for the project. Our hope is that because the DBSA has a measure of credibility with infrastructure projects, because it's going to take us longer to clean house in the city of Tshwane, that the DBSA would be in a better position to execute the project quicker without running into the trouble that I mentioned before. But of course, we also have to, in crafting this agreement, City Manager, we would be very clear that in that agreement, we also want the DBSA's processes to be competitive, to be fair, to be transparent. We must make sure that the money of the people of Tshwane is spent effectively. So no state institution is above possible irregularity, and those contractual provisions are going to be very important. But with the available information, DBSA implementing agent is the best, quickest, most credible solution that we have to the problem. Obviously, we'll also have to, with the Department of Water and Sanitation, exercise rigorous oversight on the milestones of the project. So we're not just farming this out and saying, oh no, it's somebody else's. We still have ultimate responsibility. But the plan that we're putting on the table is the most credible solution to a 2-decade-long problem that many organs of state, including successive administrations in the city of Tshwane, have failed to solve. Lastly, I don't think that the outcome of elections should necessarily affect this project. It could, of course. I think if the city of Tshwane didn't pass our budget yesterday, we would have been in real trouble. I don't think we would have been taken seriously by other organs of state or potential funders. So that's an important part, important milestone. You've got to take these successes as they come. But once this project is locked in, once we have the agreements, once the Department of Water and Sanitation are playing their supervisory role, it is going to be more difficult for successive administrations on either side to try and pick it apart. And that's why we're being open with the public. That's why we're sharing this information. And obviously journalists will hold my successor and the minister's successor, whoever succeeds wherever, to account for this commitment. This is not an ideological project or plan. He's an ANC minister, I'm a coalition mayor. And within the political differences between us, we found agreement that this is the best solution. And I think this is now about implementation. Of course, many things still need to be clarified. Many contractual provisions need to be stitched up. But it's important at this early stage, and the minister was quite, I'm more conservative in making time estimates, but the minister says if you don't do this, then the officials won't feel the pressure, which I think is a valid point. But 100 things can still go wrong. Contractual provisions still need to be finalized. But the point is, in making this public, we hold ourselves accountable to the people of Tshwane and the people of Hammanskraal to deliver a solution. And folks, in 2 decades, problems become worse. This is the most credible plan that we have produced. Thanks.
Thank you. Before I call another round of questions, I'd like to check with the DG if you'd like to provide technical aspect of the response.
Yes, thank you. I would also, Mayor, with your permission, just like to clarify a little bit more the answer to the question about where the additional funding is going to come from over and above the 450 million, which has now been approved by the council from the city's USDG allocations. As I indicated when I presented, we do have a commitment from National Treasury to work with us to ensure that the additional funding is secured. We have agreement with Treasury that the project as a whole should proceed. Treasury also in our discussions with them indicated that there's various possible options for the additional funding, including sourcing the money from other grants which Treasury and different departments manage. Also possibly getting loan finance from the DBSA or forms of bridging finance from the DBSA. And they emphasize that it's necessary to do proper due diligence on those options to determine the optimal financial structuring for the project. But the key point is that they are committed to working with us to secure funding, and that they agree that we should proceed with the project, and that optimal financial structuring will be determined in time so that the project can proceed as planned. Thank you.
Thank you. I think we got a question from the virtual platform. Sine, can you take us through that question before we call the...
It's just one question which would probably be directed to the DG. Where will the package plant abstract its raw water treatment? Secondly, what kind of treatment technology will the package plant be using, since Rooiwal plant will only be fully compliant by 2026? And lastly, what temporary measures are to be taken to ensure compliance by Rooiwal? Thank you.
DG, can you respond before I take another round on the floor, if there's any?
DDG Mati will respond.
Okay, thank you. DDG Risimati Mate is responding.
Thank you, DG. At the moment, we have a water treatment works at Klipdrift, which is supplying areas of Hammanskraal at about 7 megaliters a day. Now, there's a river where this current treatment works is abstracting water. Now, where the package plant is going to be positioned is actually adjacent to where the current clip drift water treatment works is positioned. It will abstract the same water that is currently feeding Hammanskraal. The issue is because the current capacity of this water treatment works is not enough to augment the 40 to 50 megaliters a day. So it will be positioned the same position, same location. There is enough space. Analysis have been done. We have already assessed that there is at least enough capacity for us to abstract enough water to the package plant. So it will not be fed off the water that come from the Apis or Royval water treatment works. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm going to take the next and last round of questions from the floor, if there's any. Okay, there's two on the right-hand side row, and then there's two on the other side. So we have four. Roving mics. Okay, you can start. Please introduce yourself.
Sorry about that. Rasad Adams with Netwerk 24 and Build Daily. I just wanted to know, where are we in terms of the investigation as to the cause of this outbreak? Yesterday, that same question was posed to the Department of Health, Dr. Joe Patla, and what he basically leaned towards was a 56-year-old man from Musina that was enrolled at a police college in Hammanskraal. And then he basically said that after that, we saw a surge in cases in Hammanskraal. So we don't know how credible that is. So just from the Department of Water and Sanitation side, perhaps with Tshwane as well, where are we in terms of figuring out what caused this outbreak? You've mentioned that several water sources were tested and no contamination was found that could cause cholera. So just an update as to where we are in terms of that. And just lastly, could this be considered a pilot project for the entire country in general? Because I assume that most of our journalists here have written features or did features in which a lot of water experts told us that sewage is a problem. It's a very big problem in South Africa. And in your last Blue Drop report, it was also indicated that there's a lot of mismanagement, infrastructure damage at these sewage plants across the country. So it's not only isolated to Tshwane. We've got countrywide a problem with sewage, whether it's flowing into rivers and then that water gets used by communities, or the sewage works itself not being maintained properly. So will we see this spreading to other parts of the country? Thank you.
Thanks. Again, it's Hammanskraal here from Newsroom Africa. Good morning, officials, once again. Just perhaps to the mayor, what's being done in terms of monitoring other parts of Tshwane as well, obviously west, south, and east. Thanks.
Okay.
Good morning. Phumzile Mlangeni from the SABC. I just want clarity on the potable package. Will residents get clean water in March next year through this package or in 2026? I just want clarity on that.
Thank you. Aviwem Dila from ENCA. Just to add on to my colleague there around the source of the water, are you communicating, for example, the Department of Health, given what has been said on the statement in terms of, I remember the mayor said just a bit earlier on in the week that the Royval water treatment plant didn't have samples of cholera, so it was cleared. But the suggestions here is that it may be polluting the Apis River, which then in turn pollutes the Hammanskraal Dam and the timber treatment work. You know, there's that chain that's been mentioned here. Have these sources been tested, for example, the Apis River for cholera itself? And are you now leaning towards the pollution of the rivers themselves being the cause of the cholera outbreak?
Thank you. I'm going to request the minister again to lead the response and direct them to relevant.
Right. Thank you very much. Cause of cholera. I'm sure Deputy Minister Mahlobo will add, there have been the processes of testing by various institutions and departments at provincial level, for instance, and elsewhere are underway. But we sought to formalize this into a comprehensive and most valid kind of synthesis out of everything that is happening or has happened. And we sought to do it by appointing an entity that has experience and competence to do this. And in this instance, I'm sure DG will talk more on that, sought to appoint the Water Research Commission. As far as I know, they've started doing that. And they're estimating that it's gonna take about 2 weeks, but they will confirm that. Because it is important not only to go into reasons and then come out in the public, either by AfriForum or by whoever. We need somebody competent, somebody who has knowledge to do this, but not do it by discrediting out of the blue, but taking everything that has come, analyzing it properly, and synthesizing, and then going to the public on something credible. We need that, and the public needs that. Number two, any pilot, the very instances where cases have been identified could as well be regarded as pilots. You have the epicenter in Hammanskraal, and then you had something in Paris, both in the form of the case and the loss of life, but also one NGO coming to the public to say there's sewer in the valve, simply because, and we found out afterwards how they did it, how they came into to that conclusion. All we can say is that the people of that area don't drink water from the valve directly. They get water from the tap via treatment works and so on. So there's a difference when you get water from the tap from a treatment plant